As the saying goes, how you gonna win when you ain't right within? Well, these days, Black people are increasingly prioritizing our mental health. Little Rock, Arkansas native Lorenzo Lewis is making sure that Black men do just that. Through the I Confess project, he's turned his personal pain into a mission to help millions of Black men tackle their own trauma. This is Stand Up For, presented by State Farm. Since we emerged from isolation during the pandemic, our mental health has spiraled. A 2021 study revealed that nearly half of Americans reported symptoms of anxiety or depression, and many are self-medicating with drugs and alcohol. And according to research by Columbia University, Black people are 20% more likely to experience mental health problems. But since mental health has long been stigmatized in our community, too few of us reach out for help. And when we do, we rarely see anyone that looks like us, which only leads to more hesitancy in seeking treatment.
According to the two leading psychiatric and psychological associations, Black people make up only 2% of the estimated 41,000 psychiatrists in the U.S. and only 4% of psychologists.
But there is some good news. More of us, including celebrities like Jay-Z, Michelle Obama, and Taraji P. Henson, are opening up about our struggles, and there is help out there for you. I am very pleased to introduce someone who overcame his own mental health problems and has now devoted his life to helping others. Lorenzo Lewis is the founder of the Confess Project, a movement to solve mental health disparities in communities of color, which has now reached over 2.4 million people across 52 cities and 29 states. Lorenzo, thank you for joining us today on Stand Up For, presented by State Farm. We appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. We're glad to be here. Thank you so much.
So I would love to get a little bit of background on how you got into this work, mental health, and as it pertains to Black people especially. What are some of the challenges that you had to overcome growing up?
I always tell people my story started off, born in jail to an incarcerated mother, and I faced incarceration at the age of 17 myself. Just going through the challenges of not being around my mother and father growing up, that brought about a myriad of anxiety, depression, isolation, just not feeling like I was loved and wanted, and just recognizing what that did to me as a young person. It really shifted my life in many ways, and I had to do a lot to obviously overcome that. And through mentorship and support, I was able to obviously find a gateway to really getting, I believe now, to this place where I can actually help other people see that they can make it through as well.
But it sounds like you were coming from a place that didn't have a lot of resources,
Yes.
and certainly there were not a lot of resources to help with mental health treatment for a young person struggling the way that you were. So how did you find your way out of that darkness and then do the work required to heal?
Mm-hmm. Well, my aunt and uncle were just people that went to work every day trying to make something happen for our family.
And they were raising you?
Yes, they were raising me. My aunt had a beauty salon, and so one of my first mentors there, a guy named Sylvester, that I found hope with as a young person. And finding other people like him, coaches at school, and just different people in my community that allowed me to grow beyond the challenges that I was facing.
What was the attitude towards mental health in the home you were growing up in?
It was taboo, and I think a lot of it was we could pray it away, and nothing is really wrong with you, right? And and I think a lot of it was the shame that came along with it. So it was always this secretive notion around, we got to keep this private.
And mental health, when it comes to Black men especially, I feel like is something that people don't talk about enough.
Yes.
Now looking back with the perspective that you have, what were you seeing happening with your peers?
Well, right now, data says that, suicide is the third leading cause of death for young Black men between the ages of 18 and 24. And when I think about those numbers, it really makes sense. It makes sense from a myriad of ways when we think about the way that Black males communicate with each other, the way that we're, raised without fathers in the home, or, the things that we see in media, on TV, stoicism and with our masculinity. And I believe that we have to, think of ways to engage a healthy culture around conversation about mental health, and really just embrace that there is hope in the journey.
I've always been feeling in a depressed state, and I never knew why. I still don't know why.
It's been rooted in our community where we will be quiet and not really talk about our mental state. We don't say much or we don't talk much.
Now, you talk about some of the mentors that you found that were able to help you in some of your struggles. What did that look like?
So a lot of it was just the relationship, you know. Obviously, if it was going to my aunt's beauty salon, and the barber there that worked would just encourage me through making good grades and staying out of trouble.
You mentioned the barber.
Yes.
And there is a tie with your project. Tell me about the Confess Project and how that's related to barbers and hairstylists.
Yeah, so the Confess Project is a national mental health awareness movement that focuses on training barbers and stylists to be mental health advocates. With the curriculum that's been evaluated by Harvard University, we focus on 4 key areas: active listening, positive communication, stigma reduction, and validation. They're able to use these skills as a way of helping their client that may just be facing difficulties in their life and or just figuring out a way to need to navigate life. We're not training them to be therapists or psychiatrists. However, those are similar frameworks that they do use that our barbers are able to use in this specific training that's able to really help people be their best self. Thank you all for being here today. I think the most important part of why I really came here today is to really so that I can exhibit to you all how we can break through our pain and how that part of that being our purpose.
So they do the things that you mentioned, the active listening, the validation, and then do they refer people to additional resources, or is it really just about that moment?
Yeah, so we partner with local therapists, hospital systems, government agencies across the country. Our barbers are able to refer those people to those different resources. And so I think that's really a game changer, is that this is not just someone cutting your hair or doing your hair.
I thought it was very powerful seeing Black men coming together, hugging and sharing that valuable moment together. And you could see it in their eyes and in their emotion.
And why barbers and hairstylists?
You know, I would go to my aunt's beauty salon every day, getting off the school bus, and you know, I took it for granted a lot of days because I didn't want to be there. You know, like a lot of adults, you know, women, you know, doing hair, talking, and obviously I want to be at home playing the video game, right, or outside doing something. But my first mentor, Sylvester, was a barber there, and he really allowed me to feel seen and heard as a young person. And you know, that trust that I had with him was really the idea of what we've birthed today with the Confess Project. And as I look back on it, I want other young men to have a Sylvester in their life.
To be completely honest, it was the first time I've ever heard a Black man talk about his struggles with mental health or his emotions with feeling like he's low, feeling like he's in that hole that he can't get out of. And that's a feeling that I felt before growing up.
Do you think there's a spiritual component when we're talking about hair? And I ask that with hair specifically. You know, the Bible talks about the strength of hair.
Yeah.
People feel very differently when they cut their hair. They often cut their hair in times of grief or mourning or renewal. Is there a spiritual connection with the fact that this is a hair service?
Well, you know, when you really go back and think about barbers in the most historical context, you know, they were seen as, you know, doctors in our community. And you even think about a barber using a metal sharp object towards a male's face. That is a very intimate moment. And so when you have someone that intimately close to you, there could be a spiritual connection to you to really trust them more. And I'm glad that we've evaluated that now through science to show that they can truly be gatekeepers. I'm here in the underground of Atlanta, and you're about to see me walk inside of Legends Barbershop. One of the first barbershops that really welcomed us into Atlanta. This is where we train barbers to be mental health advocates. Hey there, Mike, how you doing, man?
What's up? Welcome back to the A, man.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
What's up?
It's where it all started here, man.
You let us know what the project was all about. We was all in.
Yes, sir.
And we're still all in, and just happy to be a part of it.
Have you been able to look at mental health differently now since being exposed to our work?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of our clients have been coming here for 5, 10, 15, 20 years or more. So they're easily to open up more so with us than, you know, the average guy. They come in, they talk about it, and then they go on with their day, you know.
That makes sense.
We're not realizing the effect that we may actually have with that particular client in that particular situation. So it's a learning experience all the way around.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Thank you for coming out.
man,
We
good to
really
see you.
appreciate it.
Wellness is important to this administration, and that's why I'm working with guys like Lorenzo and his team here at the Confess Project. We want to make sure that people are able to not just survive, but to thrive, to have a life that's meaningful. And so, you know, anytime an organization steps up, like the Confess Project, to be able to help people deal with the challenges of life, it's important to us.
What do you think Black men specifically need when it comes to mental health?
We need more safe spaces, right? To be heard and to be seen. And I believe that's professionals and our system in general that continue to invest into the lives of Black men. And whether that's partnerships, working with community organizations like the Confess Project, I believe that all of that's going to continue to help to grow the life expectancy of Black men.
You know, you've had this amazing journey. You've gone through the darkness, you've come into the light, and now you're sharing that light with so many other people. But sometimes the healer needs healing. What keeps you grounded today?
You know, having my wife and my daughter, I believe, has really anchored me to just reflect on family. And when I've traveled across the country, one thing I've seen a gap in the unity in family. And so I think that's something that's kept me grounded. I also believe just continuing to have my own support system as well. You know, I've been through countless trauma-informed therapy sessions to really overcome a lot of the things that I went through. I really still dealt with a lot of the deep childhood traumas that I hadn't overcome. And so I just really overcame them probably 3 months ago. I'm working with a trauma-informed therapist, someone who really deals with trauma and really gets to the root of it. And so I encourage people to really dive deeper into our own things that we have went through and really work through those things. And I think that's really helped me now moving forward in life. So.
Well, thank you so much for the work that you're doing for the community, for Black men, and for sharing your story, because sharing the story and helping break the stigma is such an important part of the work.
Absolutely, thank you.
Lorenzo, thank you for being here. Well, this is an important reminder that you do not need to suffer in silence. If you are struggling with mental health, you can take action right now. For young men of color, please visit the confessprojectofamerica.org to learn more about Lorenzo's amazing organization. Thank you to State Farm for sponsoring today's episode of Stand Up For. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.